Someone in your group is dying. You have known this for 3 days. There is nothing you can do. No medicine, no hospital, no one to call. You sit with them, and when it is over, you do not walk away. For most of human history, this moment, the moment after death, was one of the most carefully handled events in a person's life. Not because anyone told you to handle it, because something in you already knew how. The oldest confirmed human burial is roughly 100,000 years old. It was found at Sungir Cave in what is now Israel. A child, laid on its back, arms arranged deliberately, the antlers of a deer placed across its chest. This was not an accident. This was not an animal burying its kill. This was grief made physical. And it was happening before your ancestors had written language, before they had agriculture, before they had anything we typically call civilization. Why? Why would a group of early humans, struggling every day to find food, to stay warm, to survive, stop and spend hours carefully burying one of their dead? The answer says more about what makes you human than almost anything else in the archaeological record. Let's start with what we actually know. At Sungir in Russia, archaeologists found 2 children buried together roughly 34,000 years ago. Their bodies were covered in more than 10,000 ivory beads, sewn meticulously onto clothing that no longer exists. Each bead was carved from mammoth ivory. Each one took approximately 45 minutes to make. Someone spent thousands of hours making decorations for the bodies of dead children. This was not a practical act. It was an act of meaning. Then there is Shanidar Cave in Iraq, where a Neanderthal was buried roughly 60,000 years ago, one of a group of Neanderthals whose remains suggest something remarkable. Shanidar 1, the skeleton researchers named Old Man, had a withered arm, a healed head wound, and arthritis so severe, he could barely have functioned alone. He lived for years with these injuries. He was cared for. His group fed him, protected him, kept him alive when he could not keep himself alive. And when he died, they may have buried him with flowers. Pollen from 8 plant species was found near his body, though this detail remains debated among researchers. What is not debated is what his survival tells us, that your ancestors cared for their dying before they buried them. Death did not begin at the moment of dying. The care began earlier. Now, let's reconstruct what this may have looked like. Roughly 50,000 years ago, your group of 20 is camped near the river. One of your hunters, a man in his 40s, collapsed 3 days ago. His breathing is shallow. He cannot eat. The group has not moved camp, even though the season is shifting and you should be traveling south. You stay. Someone is always near him. Someone keeps the fire close. The children are quieter than usual. On the 3rd night, he dies. What happens next is not chaos. It is ritual. His body is washed. His tools, the ones he made himself, the ones no one else's hands have shaped, are placed beside him. Red ochre is pressed into the ground around him. Ochre is iron oxide, a red mineral, found at burial sites across Africa, Europe, and Asia going back 300,000 years. Its precise symbolic meaning is lost. But its presence is so consistent across so many cultures, across such vast stretches of time, that researchers, including archaeologist Francesco de Errico, have argued it represents one of the oldest symbolic behaviors in the human record. Someone dug. The grave took hours, in loose soil, in the cold, with stone tools. This was real physical labor. Nobody ordered it. No one wrote it down. It happened because the people around him understood something that no other animal on Earth seemed to understand in quite the same way, that this person had been a person, that his absence would be felt, that something needed to mark the difference between the world with him in it and the world without. Here is the counterintuitive truth at the center of all of this. Burial is not about the dead, it is about the living. When anthropologists study grief behaviors across hunter-gatherer cultures, a consistent pattern emerges. The rituals surrounding death, the preparation of the body, the grave goods, the communal gathering, the stories told about the person afterward, all of these serve the same function. They tell the group, we are still here. We will remember you. Your life had weight. In a world without written records, without photographs, without gravestones that would outlast a generation, the memory of the dead was kept alive only by the people who knew them. And keeping that memory alive was not sentiment. It was social technology. A group that honored its dead was a group that reinforced its bonds with the living. A group that said, we will take care of you when you are sick. We will not abandon you when you die. We will remember you when you are gone. That group trusted each other in ways that translated directly into survival. The act of burial was a promise, not to the dead, to everyone watching. Anthropologist Christopher Stringer of the Natural History Museum in London has written that the emergence of burial behavior marks one of the key thresholds in what he calls behavioral modernity, the cluster of cognitive and social traits that distinguish your species from every other hominin that ever lived. You planned for a future you would not be alive to see. You understood that your death would affect others. You understood that others' deaths affected you. This is not obvious. It required a kind of mental time travel, the ability to imagine a world without yourself in it and to care about that world anyway. The modern world has changed almost everything about how death works. You have funeral homes, death certificates, legal processes that activate the moment someone dies. You have hospitals that manage the transition, so that most people today never sit with a dying person at all. But the instincts are still there. When someone you love dies, you do not want to leave the room. You want to prepare the body. You want to gather the people who knew them. You want to tell stories. You want to mark the grave. These impulses are not modern customs. They are 100,000 years old. The next time you attend a funeral, the flowers, the carefully chosen objects placed in the casket, the gathering of the tribe, you are not participating in a cultural ritual. You are doing exactly what your ancestors did in a cave in the Levant, in a riverbank camp in Russia, in a valley in Iraq when the world was unrecognizable. And the only thing that stayed the same was the fact that people died. And the people who loved them refused to let that mean nothing.